Our kids are going through a lot, and we may have to consider at some point leaving America. Stevie Wonder, who is, I'm grateful to say, a friend and a mentor of mine, he announced to the world, less than a year ago that he's leaving America, moving to Ghana. He said, I'm just tired. I'm tired of racism. I'm tired of asking, white people to like us. I'm just tired of it. And I say that to say that when I think about places that I call home outside of the United States, Jamaica, and specifically Negril, is my home away from home.
Hey Throp fam, welcome to the second half of my conversation with Ayanna Gregory. If this is your first time visiting, a special welcome to you. My name is Winthrop Wellington, and I am the host of On Deck with Throp, where we have meaningful conversations with people from all over the world, all about Jamaica. If you missed the first half or part one of my conversation with Ayanna, you can click the link up here or down below in the description, and it'll take you right there. In my conversation with Ayanna today, we talk more about her experience with Jamaica and her affiliation here. I don't want to give too much more away, so without further delay, please enjoy the rest of my conversation with Ayanna Gregory.
Yes, he will.
And so how often do you come back now?
Okay, so initially, once I connected with him, he was bringing me in like 3 times a year for the graduations, right? And then since the pandemic, of course, I haven't been doing that, but since the pandemic, I've been coming more often, so I would say more like 4 times a year and usually staying longer. Like last year, I came in October, stayed for a couple weeks, stayed in December, stayed the full month of December into January. Then I came back in March. And then I was supposed to come back over the summer for your father's 80th and just to, celebrate him. There was a documentary about my father's life, went to the Tribeca Film Festival at the same time. Amazing. So it was a big deal, a beautiful thing. The documentary is amazing. And so that was all happening in June. And so I was like, if I don't get back to Jamaica before my birthday in October, I'm gonna lose it. So I knew that, September was the time, and, I'm sure I'll come back before the year is up. So, I would say now at least 4 times a year. And my goal is to make the time span longer. Eventually I would love to build something here for my family and my mother and father's legacy, like here in Ghana. What was happening too, being here during the pandemic, America was on fire,
right?
And so it was a place of grace. It was a place to heal. It was a place to feel myself. You know what I mean? And so that's also a piece like that. Our children are going through a lot. And I mean all children, because I move around the country, so I go to schools, they're all white schools, black schools, Latino schools, Asian schools, a mix of everything, schools where there's lots of, students from other countries, from the Caribbean, from Africa, from Europe. So what I'm seeing is commonalities, a lot of depression, a lot of, serious internal stuff, where there's so much emphasis on the external that our children are so many of them lost around their own self-worth and the whole emphasis on social media and, how many likes did I get, all those kinds of things that you're seeing. And so for me, I would tell one of my brothers who he has 5 children, and I said, our kids are going through a lot, and we may have to consider at some point leaving America. Stevie Wonder, who is, I'm grateful to say, a friend and a mentor of mine, he announced to the world, less than a year ago that he's leaving America, moving to Ghana. He said, I'm just tired. I'm tired of racism. I'm tired of asking, white people to like us. I'm just tired of it. And so I say that to say that when I think about places that I call home outside of the United States, Jamaica and specifically Negril is my home away from home. And Ghana is also slowly becoming that. So I would love to build here in Jamaica, and I'd love to build something for my parents' legacy in Ghana and have a place to go, for whatever, even if it's just temporary or it's or if you're just ready, like really ready to go. I will also say that Jamaica for me has been, when I say a place to heal, not just from, racism and all of that, but, when my father transitioned, Where did I come afterwards? I came to Jamaica, to Negril. When my nephew, at 15 years old, transitioned, I came here. And so it's, everybody has like their place. People say, oh, that's just my person, or this is my place. Negril is my place.
Got you.
It's just that place where I'm like, I don't even have to go anywhere. And what's so funny is that people who know that I go all the time, they're like, okay, there's a man there, right? There has to be a man that you're not talking about that clearly if you're going to, and I'm like, no, I don't know. There's not a man. It's really just like, I just feel myself here. You know what I mean? Like I feel all of me. And because the pace is slowed down and, I'm eating good food, I'm drinking my coconut water, eating my aki and callaloo, and it's just a vibe. And also one thing I wanted to say is that Negril feels like a vortex, a space where everybody comes to Negril from all over the world. But I've met so many Black women, so many African-American women that just like gravitate to Negril. And it's like, it's something. Like right. Even during the pandemic, I met so many African-American women, from Chicago, Atlanta, Florida, New York, just everywhere, Virginia. And because of the pandemic, they were like, we just gonna post up. We were working remotely anyway. So I would leave and come back and they'd still be here. I would leave and come back and they'd still be here. Now they have an apartment or now they're building a home. And so I'm noticing that it's a place where people really don't want to leave. Or if they leave, they know they're coming back. They make plans before they leave to come back. And that's something that I notice about Negril. And I love... I love Kingston. I've been to Runaway Bay. I've been to Ochi. I've been to a few places. I haven't been to Mandeville. There's a lot of places I haven't been. I've been to Portland. I went to the Blue Lagoon. I've traveled a little bit. But I keep coming back to Negril.
No, that's interesting that you say that about the people who've been working here remotely. But like when I think back as you're speaking, like, yeah, there are a lot of Black American women who have stayed here for extended periods of time through the pandemic. Now that I think about it, because we had some that started out as our guests and then they transitioned, they got their own apartments.
Exactly.
And I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy. It never just dawned on me. I just thought it was just a thing, but it seems to be trending in that direction. Even going back to something that you said before about when you're talking about Stevie Wonder, there are people who are really trying to get out of America. Yeah. Like it's like I'm, and then it's not just people are just saying it, like they're doing it. They're doing it. I'm seeing that a lot. I've met through this YouTube channel. I've met a lot of people in the comments who are transitioning to Jamaica and coming here. And there are a lot of people who've already done it as well. And I think that's kind of a bit of the popularity of the channel because people want to learn about that transition. Like, how are people doing it? Why are people doing it? If she can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. Right. And so I think a lot of people are going to find it interesting that is where your mind is at, of actually putting down roots here at some point, whether it's permanent or extended periods of time here or Ghana. And they're going to want to know how and when you do it as well. So, we'll definitely follow up with you on that.
And I'm learning. I'm glad I have so many examples, because one sister in particular who I met here, all of them I met at Travelers, and she just broke ground on her land and, will have her home built in the next couple of months.
Awesome.
And so I get to learn, from somebody who's, building from the ground up, who, who's been like myself coming to Jamaica for years and maybe never thought about having something for herself and or maybe did but never made it happen until now and realized, no, this is not only doable, it's happening. That's amazing. And it's happening now.
So I love hearing those stories.
Yeah, so just being able to see those examples, I'm taking notes, and the more people I meet and the resources and I know a person and call this person, and it's just people are very free and helpful with what they know. Right. That's another thing
I found that as well.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, take your time, do it. Don't force it. Like, you seem to be just doing your research just organically, right? Just meeting and talking to people, and then using other people as guidance, whether they know it or not. And I think that's what you got to do, is like get comfortable. But it seems like you've made up your mind already at this point.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So one of the things that I was really excited about was that we were able to bring my mom here to Jamaica,
I remember
to
that.
Negril.
Of course, I remember.
You
meeting
remember,
her.
right?
Yeah, of course.
In December. And, my sister Paula, who mostly takes care of my mom, as they live in Massachusetts, I was shocked that she said, let's bring mom. I'm like, wait, I knew I was going back and forth, but I was like, in the pandemic, and you sure? My mom is in her 80s. And she said, yeah, it's probably the very thing she needs. Can I please tell you that my mother, Lillian Estelle Gregory, it was the gift that kept giving. She had an amazing time here. She loved the food. She adores your father.
Awesome.
Of course, you were here when we brought her to come and meet and sit with him, and the rest of the family who was here, my nieces and sister and things like that. And and her and your dad sat and talked. And they just seemed so intrigued with each other. He shared so many of his stories. I think she was grateful that he knew who my dad was, and that that my dad meant a lot to him, and just the stories your father shared around his own journey was just blowing her mind. And so she had such a good time. And there were days she was dizzy, there were days that she wasn't feeling her best, but she was able, even days she didn't get in the water, but we were able to bring her to the water. Awesome. And just put her feet in the water, or her lay back with her her sun hat. And we stayed at Rio. And that's funny because I'm so used to, I'm not an all-inclusive type traveler. So, but it was fun, staying with them, at Rio. And every night, they have the entertainment every night. My mom was the first one out there at the table. She stayed until it was over, know. Okay. And so it was just, to be able to bring her here, the whole thing was an experience. I mean, before we even got to the hotel, getting to the airport, and and she's like, oh, the Jamaican doctors, and she was just like, she was so blown away with how serious everything was taken around the pandemic. Right. And they were just floored. They were just like happy about it, but they were just like, wow, this is serious business. And just how there's a dignity about Jamaicans, there's just a pride and a sense of excellence that is just there. And she felt that as soon as we landed, and so she was just like, so I mean, in her telling the story and retelling the story, the big part was just what happened at the airport, and, and the food, and just the vibration, the land, and how sweet everybody was,
Awesome.
The brother Colin who drove us everywhere. I mean, she just loved him. And then your dad, and all of the people everyone was just so kind to her. And these are things that I don't know, maybe people take for granted here, because there is such a spirit of kindness in the air. And that's not anything we take for granted at home, because it's not guaranteed. And so I think that really stood out for her, because she's such a generous, loving, giving, kind person. And so to be in a land where she just felt like that's just the spirit of the people here, it meant something to her. And I will say this, the last time my mother was in Jamaica was like the early 70s.
Oh, wow.
So Negril, she was in Negril. Wow. So I'm sure it looked completely different, like a different place on the planet.
Yeah.
She did a fast, because my father was like the king of fasting. A lot of people didn't believe me when I said this, but they fasted on air for 2 weeks here in Negril. And they would get in the water, and that's how they would get their nutrients. They would get in the water as the sun was coming up. And as the sun was bringing the nutrients to the surface of the water, they would just be in the water. But literally on air.
Wow.
On air for 2 weeks here in Negril in the 70s. So we were like, Mama, we gotta tell everybody that you returned to Negril after, how many decades? Well, like 50 years.
Wow.
So that was special.
Amazing,
that was special.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was good.
This trip, do you have a specific mission that you're on?
Okay, so I talked about turning 50 in October, and I was like...
October what?
October 20th.
Okay.
I just joined a rites of passage program called Be the Tree.
Okay.
I'm sort of on the beginning end of it, but it's a powerful rites of passage experience for women, and we will complete in December. And so I've just been in a space where I've been listening to a lot of Esther Hicks. And for anybody who doesn't know, just look up Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks. But it's a lot of conversation around the living in a vibrational vortex where you're just vibrating, choosing to vibrate in a particular way, regardless of what's going on around you. And the law of attraction and all of those kinds of things,
Gotcha.
right? And so when I came into 2021, I had all these ideas about what I was going to do before I was 50. And a lot of those things I didn't do. And I started getting frustrated and even depressed. Over the summer, I was a little depressed. And I was just, what I realized is that I was too caught up in the doing and not just in the being. And one of the things that Jamaica always helps me with is just in the being. Because here, I don't create anything that I have to do. Many things happen while I'm here, but I don't plan it. And I love that. And so I think for me, Jamaica always helps me, grounds me. And so I really wanted that grounding before I stepped into my 50th revolution around the sun, to just feel that, you know what I mean? And just recognize, just be still and recognize that feeling good in and of itself is the goal, and if you have a moment that feels good and you're focusing on that, it will lead to more moments that feel good. Right. And one of the things that makes me feel good is doing healing work. And so while I was here, I've just in the less than a week that I've been here, I have done healing sessions, musical healing sessions with folks while I was here. None of it was planned, but that's another thing that I love about being here. At home, everything is mapped out.
Boom, right.
Here, at least in my experience, anything can happen in a good way.
Right.
Literally anything can happen. Things from beginning to end, from beginning to completion, I find that things that I want to do back at home take much longer. Here, it's like I just whisper that I want to do it and it's done.
Amazing.
And so I just wanted to get those vibes,
Okay.
So, yeah.
I like it.
I'm working on a meditation album.
Awesome.
And just some other musical projects and some other really, really exciting things. I actually had the opportunity, and I'll share, I wasn't going to share this, but I will, because I just felt led to, had the opportunity to work on some music with Stevie Wonder this year.
Oh, wow.
So
amazing.
That has been beyond amazing. And so it's just, it's just kind of one of those things where sometimes I've always felt like a late bloomer, and especially like in the music world, there used to be this image of, how old you have to be, right. And, when your time is up and all those things. And all those things are really being blown out of the water now, because it's a new paradigm that we're in. It's just it's a new day, and people are recreating, especially the young people. They're so powerful and so innovative, and creating things that people in the past would not have thought possible. Old school folks in the industry are like, how are they doing this? And so I say that to say that there were times where I feel like I struggled as an artist because, I felt like, well, to be a successful singer, I should be moving my way up in the music industry. But it was literally, and having like a famous dad, everyone's like, well, you have these connections, what's going on? But it was literally like I would take 2 steps forward and 10 steps backwards. Mm-hmm. And I think it was because I have such a sensitive spirit, and I knew intrinsically that the industry itself, the energy of the industry wasn't for me. And so that's when I really began to find other outlets. Oh, I can, pour into the children. I could go into the schools. I can do the play. I can do healing work in the community. But there was a time where I felt like a complete failure because it was like I'm looking at my peers and seeing everyone moving, and I'm like, well, what am I doing? And so so I say that to say that, at this particular point in my life, to be able to, get a call from Stevie Wonder to say, hey, I see you. Amazing. And it's time. That is like, just wait for it, y'all. You know what I mean? Like, if you're moving in your path and in authentically, that's a message that I do want to share, that moving in your path authentically, you can never go wrong. you know, even if it takes a minute, you know. I always say my father was so ahead of his time, you know. It didn't always feel comfortable. You know what I mean? He walked away from a lot. People thought he was crazy. And so now is a time where it's a time for healing, you know, for the planet. Everything is coming up and out. You know, everything that was below ground is becoming above ground. And it's a time to heal, a time to be yourself now, a time to, you know, to really just love and be loved. And most importantly, love yourself. So that has been a journey that I've been on. And so it's nice when somebody that you really admire sees you and you're just like, you know, but I mean, you have to see it for yourself first, and most importantly, because it's not about an individual. But yeah, so that has been a blessing. So, you know, music's coming, and I'm just feeling good, and I'm in Negril. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody calls me every day. What are you doing now? I'm like, nothing. What you doing?
Well, huge congratulations to you. And we look forward to hearing and seeing whatever it is that you're doing with that. So where can people find out more about you, follow up with you with any questions that they may have? If you can just give us some of your social and contact information.
Absolutely. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, it's just my name, Ayanna Gregory, and Ayanna is spelled Ayanna Gregory. So I'm easy to find on Facebook. On Instagram, my handle is I'm Ayanna Gregory. Not I am, but I'm. So I am, and then Ayanna Gregory. And same for Twitter. I'm not really on Twitter much, but I do have a Twitter account. And so it's I'm Ayanna Gregory for both Twitter and IG. And like I said, Facebook. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My website is ayannagregory.com. I'm on YouTube. I don't have a lot of great stuff on YouTube, mostly stuff other people did. That's something that I really want to begin to build, my visual presence. My music is on iTunes. I'm pretty easy to find musically and otherwise. And yeah, that's pretty much, I'm pretty easy to find.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure a lot of people will be reaching out, and I'm sure listening to your music. Well, Ayanna, I just want to thank you for doing this and sitting down. And again, I think a lot of people are going to find incredible value in the many stories that you told us, and also just your relationship with Jamaica as well. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Thank you.
And once again, Ayanna, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Hope to do it again sometime in the future.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I am so grateful. I've wanted to sit in this chair. I have watched so many of your interviews,
Awesome.
And I'm just like, he's doing it.
No.
So thank you. You know, I love you. I love your family. Like, I do feel like I'm part of the extended family now, and y'all have
certainly
really made me feel special.
Good. I hope so. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, show us a little love below and hit that like button. And if you aren't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Yay.
Thank you, Ayanna.
That was so good.